Are we rolling? Yep, we're rolling. Okay, here we go. So what we're talking about here today on the Twin Ravens YouTube channel is art journaling and repurposed books. Okay? So for those of you book lovers out there, don't get in a big snit about us doing these things to these books, because the books are straight from the Goodwill. Okay? The books cost 99 cents. Okay? So, and they're going to the landfill after the Goodwill if somebody doesn't buy these. Okay? So we're not doing terrible things to good books, although Robertson Davies, The Cunning Man, is a snooty story. But yeah, so what we're doing is we're basically saving these books from the landfill and we're turning them into fantastic works of art, also journals, poetry, and wonderful things. Okay, so normally we do this kind of art. Oh, something like this, acrylic paint on canvas or canvas boards. That's how we spend our time art-wise, but every now and again, you'll find yourself in a place where you can't do that. Art journaling in these repurposed books is a go-everywhere art-making exercise, and anybody can do this, okay? That's the beauty part about it. And the other beauty part about it is that it costs little to no money. Like I said, these books, they cost 99 cents over at the Goodwill. And when we get into them, I'll show you that you don't need fancy schmancy art making materials, okay? Sharpie markers, okay? That's all you need. And you don't need heavy duty, super expensive paint to make the colors in these books. We're just using the dollar store bottom shelf. Like, these are not expensive things. They're $1.25, I think, to buy one of these. Unlike, say, the good stuff, the late great Stevenson's Paint Company, which is the brand that I usually use. Okay, but we're not using high-end paint on these projects. Okay, so we're on the art making table. It's a little dirty here, so you have to forgive me for that. Anyways, so a book. We want to buy a book. We want to buy a book that's got high quality paper. Okay, so when you start one of these projects, the first thing you want to do when you go to the Goodwill is you want to find a book that's got fairly quality, decent paper, okay? And you just open them up and check it out, right? See how it feels. And you'll know right away. And the reason why we want quality paper, of course, is because if you do apply some of this low-end acrylic paint, right, you want the paper to stay together. Now, a lot of these new books that are 2005 and forward have some pretty cheesy quality paper, right? And so you put paint on that, it's going to come apart pretty fast, the paper, okay? But this book was, I think, 1990 something or other, and it's got fairly decent quality paper in there, right? Copyright sometime, I blacked it out, okay? Yeah, so what you want to do is you want to find a book that's got quality paper in there, and that's your starting point. Okay, the second thing you want to do is you want to find a book with a title that you're attracted to that says something for you or about you, because these books are going to last a long time, and who knows where they're going to end up. It could be your kids' library eventually down the road in 20, 30 years. It could be your nieces, your nephews, somebody who has an appreciation for art and artistic ability, and of course for you. Okay, so this was the first one I picked way back a couple of years ago, Every Living Thing. Like I said, Goodwill pile. Nobody read this stupid book. It's a story about a veterinarian, and it's kind of lame. But anyways, I picked it because of the quality of the paper and the title. And so what we end up getting here, the original idea was, of course, to start something that was poetic. Okay, we wanted to make this thing called blackout poetry. And so other videos here on the channel, you'll see videos of me reading these poems, okay? So here's one here. Home, which I have not been home in quite some time. But here we go. Through the clouds, green hillsides, vivid life, painting. I wound the window down. enveloping silence, peace. The old feeling began, running strong. This thrilling countryside, I was lucky. So true, so true. So this is, oh yeah, and you got to date these things, okay? There it is, October 16th, 2018. I've been on the road for quite some time by that time. Oh, and the other thing is, too, is when you start one of these, you have to take ownership right away. Like I said, I blocked the guy's name out, put my name on there, Mark Seabrook. I'm the artist. I put my personal brand on there, the logo, the name of the website, and the company. And then when you go into the book, take ownership right away of this thing, everything. I just signed it, put the brand symbol on there, the 4 stars of what in there. Twin Ravens Actual is a way we sign the paintings on the back. Copyright whatever. Well, the new date is 2018. You've signed it. You put these kooky characters in it. Check that out. That says, dope is legal tomorrow. Good old Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada. And so, yeah, so you go after it, right? Every living thing, blah, blah, blah. You make it your own. And then what I did, this was the first book I did. We have this blackout poetry thing happening, and I didn't really know what I was doing, right? I was just making stuff up and playing as I went along. But what I ended up finding out is that sometimes, let's say, the idea was to do poems here. And what if there's a book with no, or a page, I should say, with no poetry, right? Well, then you turn that page into something artistic, like something like this, whatever that's supposed to be, right? And that's the whole gist about this thing is what is it supposed to be? Well, it's whatever you want to make it, right? There's no agenda here. We're just winging it. And so this is it becomes something like a work in progress. It takes quite a bit of time. This book has, I don't know what, 300 or 400, 339 pages. So if you do a page a day or 2 pages a day, it's gonna take some time. So you've got to stay with this thing, right? So it becomes, some poetry, some weird poetry, it becomes something very artistic and fun, basically. It's fun. It's what we're here to have fun with it, okay? So this is book 1, Every Living Thing. It was a strange book strange story, I should say. It's something that I would never read, but we saved it from the rubbish heap and turned it into a work of art. That was book 1. Here's book 2. Of course, again, like I said, I was attracted to the title, Infinite Riches. Had no idea what the book was about. Tossed what they call the dust jacket. Took ownership of it right away. Twin Ravens. You open it up. You own it right from the get-go. And again, what we're doing here is we're looking for what they call found poems or blackout poetry or whatever. And you just go. Have fun with it. Not me. 1, the little room. Who can be certain where the end begins? One great thought, one revelation, one dream. And who will make it real? Okay, now I would never think that up as a writer, but there it is, okay? So it's this book was extremely bizarre. What a story. But it made for some great poetry, and a lot of fun. And again, we're using the cheap dollar store paint to kind of white out these pages. We're using Sharpie markers, and again, quality paper, and away we go, right? So we've got this awesome art journal, book of poems, found poems, and it becomes a long-term project because this book too has what? I don't know, it's got 300 or 400 pages in here. Over 300 pages, okay? So what we end up having is a work in progress that actually does take quite a bit of time, okay? And it's something that doesn't come together over a weekend. It's something you can take with you. It costs little to no money to make, and it eventually becomes an incredible work of art, okay? A one-of-a-kind work of art. And yeah, I mean, I'm Anishinaabe, right? So quite a few pictures in these books will be Anishinaabe or Ojibwe themed pictures, right? So that's book 2. So that's a lot of fun. Okay. Again, a book I would never read. Goodwill. It's going to the rubbish heap if we don't say them. Robertson Davies, The Cunning Man. If you're a fan of Canadian literature, you'll of course know the work of Robertson Davies. Big book, big toothy read. Lots of heavy duty. Robertson Davies use of English. You know, what do we got here? What was this one? 468 pages. Okay, so this is a big book, and it becomes something after a while, right? Love at age 16. And we got crazy Robertson Davies storytelling, which is, you know, a high level, big time Canadian writer. And so we want to, you know, another time we'll take a closer look at this book and we'll read some of the poems out here. But there's some real doozies, and of course the artwork. Again, we're talking about Sharpie markers, cheap paint, and we're just having fun with this thing, right? It's basically so. Robertson Davies probably should have saved that book, but you know, when I bought that from the Goodwill, it was brand new, never been opened. So whoever it was gifted to, you know, they didn't even read the book, so it's fresh, high quality paper there. And that's what you got to do. You got to pick one with quality paper. The Dream at the End of the World. Absolutely wonderful title. Blacked out the author's name, whoever it was. Took ownership, like I said. Once you crack open the book, again, you own it. Quality paper again. Piece of paper. Into the blackout poetry. Absolutely date everything, so that down the road, whoever ends up taking over these books in your family, they've got to, you know, they can go back in time with you. Check that out. They can go back in time with you. And again, we had a chance to explore either poems, drawings, etc., etc. How about that one there? Yeah, so this one, The Dream at the End of the World, is set over there in northwestern Africa, and so it was an interesting story, but I mean, it becomes more of an interesting thing here when we turn it into a work of art. Okay, so this is what it's all about here, and there were some pictures there, so I just, you know, who cares? She was an attractive lady in her day, so in her time, so we save that one. But yeah, I mean, these pictures of whoever they are, artists, writers, whatever. Block them out. I'm not a fan of tearing pages out of the book, so we try to leave them all in there intact. And if there's no poems to be found, then we'll make, you know, something artistic out of it. And so this is what ends up happening. Yeah, so it goes through the book. You become, you know, there's a lot of interesting things that can happen day by day, or maybe 1 or 2 pages a week, whatever it is you're doing. But again, this is a long-term project. It's not going to come together in, you know, a weekend. This is a long-term project, so meant to be fun, right? Meant to be an artistic story, an art journal, an art adventure, and so that's what that's about. Okay, so that's 4 of them that we've done now, and like I said, one day they might end up on my daughter's bookshelf or my niece's bookshelf, or you know, somebody, who knows, somebody in the family. So here's one that's a work in progress. Okay, The Air of Autumn. We're gonna black that thing out, but here it is. This is in progress. We took ownership of it right away, put the date on there, December, just this past Christmas, and we go to work on it, right? Something right out of the box. We're going fresh here. So this is a pretty weird story. There's a lot of bizarre Fantasyland stuff in this thing, which is not stuff that I would read. So there's a lot. This one becomes more of an art drawing than a poetry book. There's a few poems in here. I mean, because there's some pretty sexy things in here that whoever has written this thing is going on about. But yeah, I mean, it's more weird than sexy. So we've kind of turned it into a very slick looking art journal. And so we get a chance to explore different types of drawing because, I mean, what do you got to lose? Where's that gal? There's one of them. There she is. There's one gal in here that I really like. There she is. She reminds me of somebody I used to know. So there we are. All it is, again, is used up Sharpie markers, ballpoint pens, and a little bit of this cheap acrylic paint that we use to start it off with, and there we go. And so just the other day, we started playing around with this idea. There's the Twin Raven style. This was just drawn the other day, April 23rd, week 7 of the pandemic, the lockdown. And so we was watching the kids, and they were drawing these characters with these big eyes, right? So I thought, well, what if you had these big-eyed fancy shawl dancers, right? So this is just from April 23rd. Here's another one. So we're just, you know, playing around with it, having fun, and it's nothing serious, right? It's just fun stuff. Okay, so that's it. That's basically what it is. We've taken up how much of this time? It's darn near 16 minutes. I don't even know if YouTube will let me load it, but yeah. So that's what it is. Art journaling. So in video 2, we're gonna show you how we create some of these pages. Okay, bewitch.